Alright, I think it's working now. Better be, because I'm only doing this once. So I got this weirdly specific ask if I could do a hair tutorial. Um, which is kind of funny because I don't consider myself particularly good at drawing, designing, or coloring hair. But, I don't know, it was like such a weirdly specific thing, I thought, well, why not? So, like, I'm sure I can make up something for to record myself saying and pretending like I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the thing about hair, I guess, is this is a bad idea. The thing about hair is that it is on your head. Bad idea. Okay. I guess if you're gonna start designing hair for a character, you're gonna want to have a style in mind, obviously, and then kind of just like exaggerate that, or maybe look at uh, other designers for references. I guess it kind of depends on what exactly you want to do. If you're just doing, um, you know, a uh, just like an illustration or whatever, obviously you can do whatever kind of hair you want. If you're designing a character for animation, like, then the hair is going to have to be simplified enough that you can keep track of it while it's moving. You know what I mean? While you're using it. So I'm just going to use Jonathan. Um, oh, this is horrible. Jonathan from Welcome to Hell. Kind of what I was going for is this like '90s kind of bowl cut's not the right word. It's not that. It's like JTT over here. It's like this parted thing. God, it was so ugly. Um, Look at all these queefs. Um, so anyway, like that kind of thing. Which, interestingly enough, was kind of like reflected in some other uh, cartoon boy designs of the time. There's this really great. I know I've referred to this before, or referred people to this. Okay. There's this really great article written by John Kay on his blog, which is fantastic, and he just kind of highlights this weird trend of animation hair or whatever that was happening in the 90s. Here it is. That's literally Jonathan's haircut. Um, it's so weird. Anyway, it's a hilarious article. You should read it sometime. But anyway, they were obviously going for this like exaggerated kind of parted bowl cut thing that people were doing. Anyway, okay, okay, Jonathan, here's his hair. We've got, like, that would be where his forehead line is, basically. I don't usually draw that. That was just for your guys' pleasure. I have it kind of going up and then down. Just, that's just kind of a way to get it up out of the face. It's also a really prominent, like, 90s anime thing. We did that a lot. Anyway, the other thing about hair is you kind of draw it in chunks. One, because it's easier to animate, these little points. And two, because, like, hair actually does kind of settle in chunks. So, like, for Jonathan, anyway, here, let me just do this. You've got this chunk right here of bangs. This chunk right here of bangs. And you've got, like, the part along his head, basically. There we go. Like that. And this other part goes that way. Around. Sort of. It flips out like that at the ends, which is kind of just supposed to be like it's feathered back. And then he's got a little ahage at the top. Anyway, so those are kind of the basic shapes of Jonathan's hair, and then he's got this little undercut, these little spikes. I usually do like 3 and then 2, but you know, whatever works. So man, I'm really rambling. I don't know what to say. Um, Basically, yeah, you've got these like, you know, this would be his bangs chunk right here. Um, this is, you know, the hair would be flowing this way. And you kind of got to keep in mind like, you know, pleasant shapes that are fun to draw, you know, and an interesting kind of flow to it. He's got little sideburns too. Okay, so that's Jonathan's hair. Then we're gonna, God, okay, we're gonna, I guess Sock's hair, for instance. Let's just draw a quick Sock. Okay. This is all right. Jonathan. Oh man, I've already started coloring in the mouth. This is so unnecessary, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it almost there. Okay. All right. All right. So this is a really bad sock, but just go with it. This is where his um, forehead is. Whenever I draw like a head shape, I'm just literally doing the face part of it, and then like the rest of the back of the head is back here. I didn't say it. Okay. So this is a tremendously bad drawing. But anyway, all right. So Sock has this kind of hair that swoops over to the side. I really can't think of like an equivalent uh, actual hairstyle. It's just kind of this really exaggerated looking anime hair, you know, which always has these big swooping styles and well, I mean not always, but fairly prominent. Swooping hairstyles and weird goofy things. He usually wears a hat to cover up his weird anime hair that he's embarrassed about. But underneath it looks like this, and he's got these cute, poofy, like sideburn things, which is also pretty common cartoon thing to have, especially in anime. Anyway, with his hat, his hair looks like underneath the hat is literally just like kind of the same shape as his bangs, but like on the top, two little eyes, and then like he's got these hairs that flip out at the bottom, sort of like that. Whatever. Okay. Um, so that's again like it's sort of can be separated into chunks. There's this chunk. There's this chunk. This chunk on the back of his head. That would, you know, obviously, of course, go all the way around. You know, like if this was the back of his head. Whatever, you get the point. And then it flips out at the bottom like this. The side view would be. Well, that's the other thing that's kind of funny, interesting, I guess, about hair and like doing kind of more crazy animation designs is like it sort of has like I mean it doesn't have to, but it's sort of you're gonna run into the like Mickey Mouse effect, you know, where his ears face the screen, they face the viewer regardless of what direction he's facing. Um, Sock's hair is not entirely like that, but sort of, yeah. Like there's it's definitely anyway. Point being is here's this chunk. This is the back. This is the back chunk, like the main back chunk of the hair, things like this. And then whoop, flips out at the bottom, like that. On the gaze, this, like that chunk, that chunk. And then these guys. That's basically what Sock's hair looks like. Uh, Mephistopheles has a really douchey hairstyle that is definitely based off an actual douchey hairstyle. Um, yeah, here we go. All right. Look at these tool bags. Okay. I really shouldn't talk. I had my hair like that for a while anyway. Oh man. Anyway, he's just got this sort of exaggerated, like, flipped up thing in the front. That counts all the way down to his sideburns. So, like, here's stuff. I can't draw. I can't even draw my own characters. It's really sad. Okay. Alright. Here's this guy. Okay. Again, here's like the back of the head part. Ugh. Whatever. Why do we need necks? This is a hair tutorial. Necks are for squares. Okay. Mephistopheles' hair is, like I said, a faux hawk. So he's got kind of like this whole chunk of just normal hair. Okay, whatever. Anyway, he has these this mane chunk. No, it's not going out the right way. He's got kind of this like receding hairline sort of shape to it. That where the hair splits apart. And again, I'll do these in like shapes. Basically, he's got a big triangle here, with two chunks coming off. Just kind of makes it look more like feathered or whatever. More interesting visually. Anyway, yeah, his hair all flows up like that. You get the idea. This is basically, I guess, a part, and then this would be this whole chunk of his hair. It's growing forward. Not that it really matters, but, like from the side or whatever, it would be, like that's, it's like, kind of like that, all going up to this point. Ahogays on a part. That's usually where I do them, if I do them at all. Where ahogays on a part. Okay, so then he's got these sideburns. I guess we'll include that in a tutorial on hair. And really, when I was designing it, I thought, like, I don't know, I just wanted him to have these weird sideburns. They were originally more like that or whatever. And they just sort of like connected down to this little goatee thing. And I thought, no man, I'm gonna really exaggerate it. Like, that's boring. I'm just gonna like literally have these points like on the side of his face line up with his, and again do a couple of these things to kind of make it more interesting. Maybe a couple of squigglies there so you can see that it's like attached. Whatever. And he's got this goatee. Yeah, so that's kind of, his whole face is just like a square surrounded by triangles, basically. Anyway, again, I don't know if you really need this. That's separated into a chunk. That's separated into a chunk. That's separated into a chunk. Let's see. Those are specific characters. I guess for just some like general hair design tips. Let's say. Let me just draw a generic character. This is sort of how I don't know if you're familiar with the characters Lil and JoJo. They have kind of similar hairstyles to just like, I mean, they're specific hairstyles, but I definitely kind of came up with them by like starting with more sort of generic designs. Um, like I had a very, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's a lie. I had some specific things in mind. Anyway, like there's the forehead line or whatever. Here's the eyes. This isn't anyone in particular, but okay. Hair kind of like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know anymore. If you're gonna do like bangs, I guess, I kind of try to like pick an interesting shape, um, because really that's just coming from like trying to make the designs more simplistic for animating. If you have kind of a certain shape in mind when you're doing it, it'll be easier to keep track of it all when you're animating. And that's just kind of it's something that's kind of hard to explain unless you've actually had to animate them before. Yeah, so this would be a shape like that's a shape. It doesn't have to be like a triangle or a square or some specific. It can just be like you can go like that and design a hairstyle around it, or just anything. I'm not going to do that because I'm just not that creative. Uh, this kind of keeping like an interesting sort of shape to it. Eh, that's interesting, right? A point, a curve. I don't know. Maybe they have their hair pulled back. Just do a couple lines to show that it's pulled back and there's a ponytail thing right here. That could be one of those little fuzzies at the back. That could be an interesting hairstyle for a character. Or we could do like, oh, okay, here's. I don't know if this is like something I should be telling people because the idea is usually to like draw from life or whatever, but obviously, some people. There's nothing wrong with looking at other people's styles. Some people have just got it down, man. Someone whose style I think is really cool. Archive? I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But anyway, they're particularly good at designing characters that would animate well. It's kind of got these like shapes, these really specific shapes that like the character's hair and body and clothes and everything else stays in these shapes pretty much all the time, even though like obviously their work is super expressive and the characters are always moving around or whatever. You've got this like there's that shape, there's this kind of the same thing I was already doing. I don't know. See this swimming demos. These are just more kind of simplified designs or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are just, it doesn't hurt to like look at other people's styles and see what they're doing, or maybe what they've figured out. These are really these ones. Like, just this whole like that's a shape. The bangs part right there, that's a shape. Like this, that's a cool shape. The way she's got this sort of anyway. You get the idea. So I don't know. What else can I say about hairstyles. Oh, this was a character I did pretty recently. Had hair that like these kind of specifically like straight cut bangs and like curly sort of things coming down. I made sure that the curls are sort of like they go in between, you know, like they. Does that make sense? I can't words right now, but you know, it's like a this kind of shape rather than like that. They kind of have to be like asymmetrical. I don't know. I think that makes for an interesting like poofy curly look. Um, it's sort of like the back of what Sock's hat looks like. If you know what. I mean, if you're watching a tutorial from me, you probably know who Sock is and who my characters are. Anyway, like a big ponytail that also kind of did the same thing. You know, that's like that would be an interesting shape. You know, to do. You've got this, which is like the entire chunk of hair on the head, all pulled back to this point here, basically, and this big ponytail, like coming from it. This. Yeah. Let's see what else we've got. You can do like, oh, a hairstyle that's really great that I really love, and I'm terrible at drawing is like super poofy curly froze. Um, and they're so great though. Curly hair is always kind of tricky because like you want to like you don't just want to make this big like cloud on top of someone's head. Although you could, that's actually kind of cute. That's interesting. But you know, you also don't want to be like, oh, individual curls. Like, no one's gonna keep track of that. I don't know. You could like, if you've ever seen the. I was talking with my roommate the other day about what was it? Afro Samurai? Something where the hair is like really kind of crazy and detailed, but it moved around as if it was a character. So it kind of worked. You know, it wasn't about like keeping every little individual detail in place. Like the hair was kind of this big flowing um, thing moving around independently. It had just as much personality as the character. I don't know, man. Let's just do like, or maybe hair that's like pulled back or whatever, and straight back from the forehead. Then you've got, you know, you can have a shape like that. That's your main forehead shape going back. This kind of right here is the chunk of bottom hair, you know, main body part. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about hair other than like break it down into basic shapes that are interesting to draw. If that's, you know, if you're doing it for animation or trying to design characters that look like they would animate well, which is, you know, I'm just kind of repeating myself. I don't know. What's another interesting hairstyle? I haven't really done any long hair. Yeah, that's what was I gonna say? Oh, maybe I'll just start like talking about. They just said hair tutorial. The person who asked me, like, I don't know if they meant like designing or coloring or what. Like I said, I don't really consider myself, you know, that good at hair, so I don't know. Um, long hair, I think, is a little harder to deal with just because it's a bigger shape, but not necessarily. Like I said, like anything can kind of be broken down into an interesting shape. Also, this is sort of like an interesting way of dealing with like long, straight flat hair. I don't know how to explain that shape other than like, here's the edge of it and it comes around like that. And then this is the part that like wraps around the front, like that, basically. A lot of people do that with like if they're drawing like a trench coat or some sort of jacket or something. Like I know y'all watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Kaiba looking like anyway with his trench coat all flaring out. Anyway, that's Yu-Gi-Oh! This is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Tutorial now. Do me, Yugi. Do me. Okay. I am losing it, man. Okay. 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 Like I said, breaking down into shapes. Here are shapes. This can move in an interesting way. Maybe it'll look like that in a different frame, or like that. You can do all sorts of interesting things with hair. I hope that makes sense. Doing this, I'm talking like as if you're all animators. So I hope I hope this helps. God. What did I say? I said I was gonna do like coloring. I guess that couldn't hurt. Couldn't hurt. Do some coloring. All right. So let's say I've got. I'm just gonna color a chunk of it. It's too much to do. Just gonna use these natural, ugly Photoshop swatches. Why not? Okay. Whatever. Don't care. I wouldn't normally color on the same layer I'd do it underneath, but okay. So obviously there's like different ways of coloring too. If you're gonna do animation, then you might want to keep it more simple. Maybe little shinies like that, or that kind of thing that anime popularized with the shine running through the hair. Honestly, I find it kind of difficult, like, where should that shine go exactly? It kind of also has to match with the flow of the hair, and in this case, this is the flow of the hair, so it's kind of gotta go like across those. But then when you got a character like Sock, for instance, whose hair is, he's got this thing, I'm like, oh man, would the shine go here? Doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right either. Like, fortunately, I didn't do hair shinies on Welcome to Hell, so I didn't have to think about it. But so you can also just like do like a silhouette on the edge of it, that kind of thing. These are super like anime inspired things. Like, let's all be honest. Like, we can talk shit about anime as much as we want, but like everything sort of influences each other. Western cartoons influenced anime just as much as anime is currently influencing Western cartoons, blah 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 blah. There's a melting pot of influences, so no shame in hiding it, guys. Hmm. I guess you can also like color hair in a more like realistic way, which is fun sometimes. For that, I'd like do different the opacity, like tone, pressure sensitivity, or whatever for that. Because obviously hair is all these tiny, tiny little strands overlapping. Um, you know, like this kind of thing. Obviously, like there's a lot of um, I don't really know what I'm saying. There's just going to be a lot of different ways of coloring. It looks too much like it was done in Photoshop. Um, super smooth hair, I guess. Hair tends to be come on dark. Wait, really? Why? I do that and then it moves the whole thing around. I don't get it. Um, Hair kind of tends to be darker at the roots, um, just because like that part doesn't see and that would be roots if it was whatever. That part doesn't really see the sun as much. Could be darker that way too, so that it sort of leads up to this like shine in the middle. Like I said, kind of just depends like how you wanna do it. All sorts of ways to make hair look visually interesting, I guess. You can do some like combination of realistic and cartoony. You know, you could do hair shines. Why not? Yeah. For more detailed kind of illustrations or whatever too. Sometimes it's obviously like all your hair is not going to be like in one giant chunk. It tends to clump together, um, but there's always going to be parts of it that stick out or whatever. And you can have some fun drawing those too. I don't know, all of these look kind of terrible if I'm being completely honest. It's because of how I did the line, the hard, solid line. I don't normally do that, but I just don't care. Yeah, like something like this, obviously you wouldn't do it when you're like animating and trying to move a character around in a space. It's too many little details to keep track of. But you can do it for illustrations or whatever. It makes it look maybe more interesting. That looks stupid. Whatever. Okay, so that sums up my hair tutorial, I guess. Hope you guys found it useful. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but people seem to enjoy me sitting here and drawing and not knowing what I'm talking about. So hopefully you did enjoy that, and see you next time I make a tutorial.